Facts. So, Twerkulator, #1 record out right now. How does that feel, dog?
I mean, it feels good, man. It's always great when you have a record that everybody loves. When you take a concept from your head that you heard in the club or something, you bring it to life, bring it 2021, and everybody loves it, man. So it never gets old.
For me, there's so much nostalgia in this record. I mean, I'm 40 something. So, I came up in that era, and when I hear the song, it just brings. Now, mind you, I have not even been able. These knees haven't twerked in a good 15 years, but it just takes me back to a place in my life that was just so much fun, and so many good memories and everything. And so, definitely salute to you for being able to bring that feeling for people like myself, and then keep it current. And so phenomenally successful, like it's cool, now, like my daughters, they're 18 and 20. It's like now we can relate because, they can dig, the stuff that I came up on.
Yeah.
So definitely salute. I think the record is awesome. It's not even like my kind of like we were talking about earlier, it's not
we get a little older now.
But when it comes on, man, I love it. I love it.
Now, one thing to piggyback off of what you're saying, I want to know, like, when you were in the studio that day and you were creating that record, like, what was your mindset and what was going on that day to help you create it? Because you got a lot of samples that I'm like, oh my God, I remember this. Like, how did that come about?
I mean, a lot of people don't know, man. I used to be a DJ as well. So I used that DJ background, back when you used to have Technique 1200s and walk around with the crates and carry your own speakers in the club, like back in those days. But I always kept that in mind, like when I'm, creating, I know this song will get this person dancing, this kind of vibe, will get these people, just go react. So I kind of bring that into like a big, like a big old pot. And it's really about placing it with the right artists too. I had this Twerkulator, I did this beat probably about 2016, same time I did Living My Best Life. The California beat, I just did a bunch of dope samples that I knew, would react if the right artist got on. So a lot of that is songwriting, a lot of that, a little bit of A&R work to say, okay, if this artist did this kind of beat, it'll have this kind of reaction. It's just a whole strategy to it.
No, facts. And one thing I noticed about you is that not every one of your beats sound the same.
Nothing.
You have so much dynamic range with your music, yo. It's crazy.
From Smile to Twerkulator.
And then from that to Walk Around the Club, which is funny because, to this day, I still hear that record.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Yes.
That's dope as fuck. Like, I literally just heard it 4th of July.
Of shit. Like if I'm listening to, yes, fuck everybody. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So that's dope as fuck.
You.
So how is that? Because a lot of producers that you hear nowadays all have, somewhat of a similar sound in every single one of their songs. How did you differentiate yourself from other producers, being that you have so much diversity in your music?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not scared to take chances. A lot of producers, a lot of artists, they might see, Twerkulator working, and then I got like 40 different artists asking for a Twerkulator type beat right now. But I'm not gonna give them that. I'm gonna give them something else that I know that can still work, still be effective, but still be uniquely them. You know what I'm saying?
No, facts. Absolutely. And that's why I talk about, like, you went from Throw It Off, you got records with Soulja Boy, VIC, you got all these artists, and then you had that Colonel Loud record, which was a huge record. And even for me being a DJ, I was still able to play that record in the clubs when I, back in Miami. Like, how was that working on that record and working with, Colonel Loud, Rico Barino, Young Duff, and all those people?
See, the crazy thing about that record, it was like, that record was originally for like Jeezy or Boosie, featuring like a K Michelle type artist, So when it didn't work for necessarily those situations didn't work out. Colonel, I met Colonel through a whole like PR, and she was like, I want you to work with this guy. He had like all these straight street records that everybody had, It was the same, more of the same. And I was like, man, you look like you would get this kind of stuff We sat down about 2 minutes. Dolph was in the studio later on that week. They was like, "What you think about Dolph on?" I was like, "Let's go." We came back in town, cut the rough of the record, took it to Strokers, and it was on the radio like the next day.
Wow.
That's dope. And like I would have never thought to hear Young Duff on that record. So when I heard him on the record, I'm like, yo, this shit crazy.
Yeah.
Because it threw me off. You know, you think of Young Duff, you're thinking of the down south type of style. And here he is on like a California type record, you know,
It sounds
West
great.
Coast. But it worked together. And T.I. being with him, you know, it just all tied in together. I love the record.
And that's what makes, I feel like, you know, and that's what separates a good producer from a great producer to an amazing producer, is they're going to
Facts.
give you something that you never expected, and you're going to fucking love it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And I would just want to go back to one thing that you said too about being a DJ, because again, you know, like I'm the vice president of Big DJ Coalition, and I work with a lot of DJs. I'm not a DJ, but to say that the way you produce music comes from being a DJ and knowing what the people want, that makes the most sense to me whatsoever. And it's just such a natural crossover. And you do see, you know, DJs producing. You do see a lot of producers that started out as DJs, but you just put it verbally in the best way possible. You know what the people want as a DJ, and you give it to them as a producer. I love that.
It's really that simple. Because I think a lot of times, you know, people might do a record that's a whole nother BPM than what's going on right now. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But that plays a huge factor in it too, as well. So it's just, you know, knowing all the elements that are necessary. You know, I try to make my records as easy for the DJs to play as well. You know,
Right.
I know how it is to where when you're a DJ and you got 50 people hollering at you, the club owner want this song, these girls want that song. So a lot of times, you know, if you make it easier for the DJ to play it and he wants to play the record, that's that much easier.
Absolutely.
And I would think that would have a lot to do with how you structure the record as well, because a lot of times, you know, in the club or even on the radio or on a mix show, you know, the entire song is not going to get played, you know, and it's going to blend into something different. Does that affect how you structure the song? Do you think of it as, you know, how is it going to play in the club, or where's it going to blend? What's it going to come from? What's it going to go to?
Oh yeah, very much so. I even factor in now. You got to factor in social media. You know,
you got that 10, 12 seconds right there.
Yeah, you don't have a whole 16 bar measure. I mean, you know, intro to talk shit and, you know, shout your hood anymore. You know, you got that first 2 seconds and those kids hear it.
Right.
If it's not nothing going on, they're off of it just that quick. So, I definitely take, you know, what the DJs have to go through, and just how people consume music nowadays. Songs not even that long anymore.
I want to ask you about that since you said it on the intros, because one thing that I don't like to hear anymore is just a really long, you know, like 8 whole bars before I even get anything. What is your take on that as far as, you know, producing a record or an artist writing to the track and you know, a lot of times it's just like you're waiting for the song to start for a good 20 seconds.
Right. I'm like you said, I'm against it too as well, because like you said, people's attention span is really not that long anymore. And like, I'm gonna be honest, nobody cares where you're from anymore. Nobody cares what set you claim or whatever.
Right.
Like, I think people are in a place now where they want to party and have fun. We just coming out of the pandemic, you know, and they just really want to have fun.
Nah, absolutely. Now piggybacking off of what she was saying, since you were a DJ, you're also a producer now. How does, you know, working with the BPMs play with you? You know what I mean? When you're making a record, are you thinking about the BPMs, or are you just thinking about the vibe?
The vibe first, and then the BPM. A lot of times, like with California, it wasn't really necessarily anything The BPM was the same with everything that was going on at the time, but the vibe was so different to the point I knew if I had the bass hit in the right amount, just hard enough, just a little bit of ghetto touch to it, just to, make it hard, and that was it. Like all those elements play a huge part of it.
Nice, nice, nice. Now, I want to talk about, we got a lot of producers in the building, we got a lot of artists in the building. So I want to ask you a question as far as, for the artists and people that are tuned in right now. What does it take for that artist or producer to get to that next level? A lot of people are trying to get to the next level. They're trying to find that hit. But what advice can you give to the artists and to the producers to try to find out how they can get to that next level and eventually blow up, obviously?
One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of producers or, up-and-coming people make is they work on these long projects that don't nobody care about. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is nobody cares until you win. So this is a still single-driven business, okay? It's a hit-driven business. So I tell people all the time, man, just really work on and think about this hit record that you want to do, from the concept or how you want to shoot the video, who you want to mix and master it, because you really have only one time to make that first impression. So I tell them really just focus on that one. I know you got all these songs that y'all been making, but figure out which one of those songs is gonna be the best for all of y'all.
I just want to comment that I totally agree. Again, I guess my biggest role in the music industry, I consult for artists and things, and same thing. It's like, okay, you've got so much music, but we need to hone it in. You said one record. I like to say two, because just from an industry perspective, that club banger might not be the same record that's gonna fly on the radio. And every now and then, depending on the artist, I'll stretch it to three. We had Mike Bombada in here, not too long ago, and he's so creative and versatile that I want him to stretch it to three, because you need a club banger, you need something to fly on the radio, and then you really need something that the streets fuck with hard. The streets always, and still to this day, do matter. So I definitely agree with what you were saying with one, but sometimes I gotta go with two or three.
I agree with that too, but initially that first one,
like what you're gonna push and put those marketing dollars behind. Yes, absolutely. Now,
you definitely need.
What would you say?
Need follow-ups.
Yes. Now, what would you say to an artist, let's say, that only has a very strict budget for marketing? Should they go with, should they go with the record that's going to ring off in the clubs, or should they go with the record that's going to get the radio play?
If you have I would go radio.
Radio?
And the reason why I say that, because if you get radio play, you got to keep in mind, like, okay, a club is cool. Kind of takes a longer time, because your average, even your larger clubs, they hold maybe 1,000 people. Okay? Radio broadcasts to millions of people at a time. So that will lead to more club bookings and more of that. That's always been my approach to it. Just go for the home run.
Okay.
No, absolutely right on that. I agree with you too. Like, I feel like a lot of times artists nowadays are like, oh, let me do a mixtape. Let me do that. I'm like, listen, man, just focus on one.
Especially when you're a very new artist and people don't know who you are. Like, to set that tone and get your name out there, you've got to have a hit.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Now I want to ask you, how important is, in today's market, creating a video for the song? Because I see everybody on IG now and the TikToks. And how important is that video content right now?
Man, it's everything. Even if you don't have an official video, create a challenge. Like, I think a lot of artists don't realize, I don't even think they know, people hear with their eyes. You know what I'm saying? So they see people reacting with you, or they see people dancing to whatever, they automatically think, oh my gosh, I'm tripping. Even if they hated you or hated your song, they be like, man, I must be tripping because everybody else like it. I see them liking it. So the visual is everything, man. Even if it's just a lyric video with some animation, don't just put a song. You can't put a song out without visuals anymore.
Absolutely. And you know, and I would tell an artist this all the time. Like you just said, never put it out without a visual. If it's nothing other than you putting your iPhone and turn it landscape
And put it on 4K or
and just
something.
wrap the song to your phone if it's nothing else. Yeah, if you can't
There you
afford
go.
a video, but like you said, there I mean nothing flies without the visual these days.
Absolutely. Like I see it all the time. You know, artists, they want to drop their song the whole time, but I know you said it earlier. Always drop a record with the video.
That's going to take me into another question because I've worked with several artists who they will drop tons and tons of videos on YouTube, but won't put the music on streaming. You know, YouTube is instantaneous. Streaming sometimes it may take a couple weeks, and by then they're on to the next one. And I'm really big on that. I can't stand it when an artist will put their video out to the song and that's the only place I can hear the song is YouTube. Like I want to be able to add it to my playlist. And can you talk about how important streaming is for quote unquote like YouTube rappers and or people who just put out video content constantly?
I mean, it's so important because you gotta understand, like, there's so many playlists, there's so many ways. Like, I discovered Megan Thee Stallion off of somebody's playlist. You know what I'm saying? So, and everybody not going to YouTube. Like, it's just so many different ways to consume music. To, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Like, if I hear a dope song, if I Shazam a dope song, I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna go to maybe like my main music place that I listen to, like Apple Music or Spotify. And if I don't see it there, I'm on to the next.
Right.
That's
And again,
simple.
if I can't add it to my personal playlist, you know,
Yep.
Exactly.
I can't bang it in my Corvette when I'm riding around, you know?
Yeah, I want to be able to have access everywhere to the song, no matter what
Yeah.
I'm doing. You know, some people got Spotify, some people got iTunes. I want to be able to have access no matter where I'm at to be able to listen to the record.
And not only that, can you just speak from an industry perspective, you know, because the labels, if you're trying to get a label deal as an artist, and I hope these artists are really paying attention, you know, if those streaming numbers aren't there, you may have 100K on YouTube and you go to Spotify and you've got less than 1,000 streams. You know, why is that so important?
I mean, that's literally your report card.
Right.
In today's climate, you know, it used to be that the streets, you know, got the hottest record in the club, and that's cool. But what labels want to know, what sponsors want to know, for endorsements, they want to know how many people are listening to you monthly, and they want to go and pull all your analytics. If the only thing you have is YouTube, they're gonna think you're an idiot. You know, I know I would. I would literally think you was an idiot and be like, okay, well, I can't take you serious at this point because it's just like I just stopped at a gas station today and the guy was trying to sell me a CD.
I don't
And,
even own a CD player.
Exactly. He was like, big bro, you know, I know who you are, you know, support a young artist. I said, hey, man, I can't do nothing for you.
Sell me a flash drive or a QR code, anything
Right?
but a CD.
But
you know what's
Anything but a
crazy?
CD.
When I was in New York City, especially when you go to Times Square, so every time I would go to Quad Studios, you know, I would go with Coast to Coast, we'd go to Quad Studios, then we'll go over to the Brooklyn show. And in Times Square, that's all they're doing. And I even try to tell them, like, listen, man,
They're
CDs
still
are out of
selling
date.
CDs?
They're still selling CDs. They were trying to sign it to me, and I was
No.
like, look, I don't even have a CD player. Do you have
I
a
don't
USB?
own one.
They took the CD away from me, and I'm like, you know, you're only hurting yourself because I'm a DJ in Miami, and I can play your record in Miami. But for some reason, a lot of artists, that's just how they make their money. They don't know any other way. So he was trying to fight with me about that. Little did he know, 20 minutes later, he was walking into the studio where we had the label right there, and he was like, oh, shit. I was like, yeah, man, CDs are just not working no more.
Well, and again, and the effort and the resources that you put into producing the CDs, you can totally refocus that energy into streaming and into monetizing on YouTube. So,
True,
Go.
facts.
yeah.
So now I want to ask you, like, with artists, you know, coming out with CDs, what's the best way? Like, let's say an artist wanted to link up with you. What would be the best way for them to be able to connect with you? You know, obviously build a relationship and then go on and actually send you a record.
They can just hit me up on my social media. On my Instagram, a Mr Hanky B, AMRHANKYBEAT. They can DM me links or whatnot, or and we can go from there. Even if they're looking for production.
Dope. All right, but I actually want to.
And can we just say though, please do not hit up Mr. Hanky unless you are ready to cut that check.
Facts. And make sure you have something ready for him. Don't just come over there blind and just, hey, I want to make a record with you. You know what I mean? Make sure you guys come correct and stuff like that. Like, I know Mr. Hanky's a super busy person.
It's definitely worth it. Yeah.
The records speak for themselves. But I do want to go back. Because when I heard this record back in the days, this was my shit. This record right here, that Smile record, Living My Best Life.
It is. It's one of those epic songs that will last the test of time. I mean, we will be listening. Hopefully we will, or our grandchildren will be listening to it 50 years from now.
Facts.
Absolutely.
That's one of those records that no matter what time it is, you're going to play it.
Every generation, every race, every gender, every single
if you're enjoying
person
life,
on
you're playing
the
that
planet, that song resonates.
Exactly. So I want to know, how'd you get them three together? And then how was that session? Like, I got to know, what was going on in that session, because that shit must have been, like, legendary to me. I mean, I'm from Miami, so Bob Greasy, to me, impacts me more than everybody else around the world, because Bob Greasy is a legend in Miami. He's an icon in Miami. But then you got Lil Duval on the record, and then Snoop Dogg.
Oh, my God.
So how was that session? How'd that come about?
Man, that session was crazy. It was just like originally, I just linked up with Duval just to do like a whole intro to another record. And while we was in there, he was doing the skit on TV, on his Instagram. So while he was doing the skit, the Smile Bitch, I think he do it every Friday or something. And so we sitting up there smoking and stuff, and he's like, hey, man, I need a song for this Smile thing I'm doing. I was like, oh, really? So he said, yeah. So I went to my email. I played one record, and I played the second one, which was the video was on. He immediately jumped in the booth. We didn't have any structure to the song, which was funny. So he literally did Smile Bitch, come on for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. There was no Living My Best Life. There was no rap verse or anything. And so I said, hey, man, let me get the session real quick. I played with it, put a little space in between. And at that point, we sat back down, that same session, and we were just brainstorming who we could put on it. So I had already did California with Tip, and I knew Duval is cool with Tip anyway. So my initial thought, I was like, hey, man, let's go get T.I. on it. He's like, nah, that's too easy. That's too predictable. So I said,
T.I.'s too easy.
I said, yeah, he was like, so who you thinking? And we just stopped and looked at each other. We just said, Snoop. And we sent it to Snoop. And we didn't hear anything back for like 2 weeks. I honestly thought Snoop wasn't messing with it. And I thought Snoop wasn't messing with it. And I want to say maybe about 2 weeks later, on a Friday morning or a Saturday morning, we all got a text and an email saying, check your email. It's for Snoop. So I went and listened to it. You know how you halfway sleep from partying the night before. And, you kind of wake up and hit the email and everything. And I immediately sat up. I was like, oh, shit, he put something on the hook, too. He filled that part in. And then when I heard the verse, I was like, oh, okay. We working with something. And I was still like, okay, maybe it'll just be cool for Instagram. Or maybe it just be a little skit, like the remix videos or something. And we went back to the studio. And as I'm going to the restroom to come back, I hear him singing, I'm living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. Because that wasn't even on the record at this point. All right? So I walked back in the studio. I'm like, hold on, stop. I tell the engineer, stop. I was like, what is that? He said, hey, man, that's just how I feel. Y'all seen Duval before. He's like, that's just how I feel. That's my vibe right now. I ain't going back and forth with nobody. He started preaching. I said, hey, man, look, just go put that on the song right quick. He put this on the song, like, he placed it right where it needed to be placed. Oh, my God, that was it. So
That
how
was
Ball
it.
Greasy got on it. So how Ball Greasy got on it. We went live on Instagram, IG Live. I don't know. I think it's still on my page. And I was high as a kite. So I was back there eating all the trail mix. And he FaceTimed Ball Greasy. He was like, hey, man, come on, get with it. Come on, I need your verse. I think Ball Greasy had just gotten off a plane and got finished doing the show or something. And he said, I'll have it to you in 5 minutes. And I promise you, 4 minutes and like 13 seconds later, we had his verse and the session.
Damn. Ball Greasy a worker though. Ball Greasy's been working for a minute. Like I've seen his growth and everything like that. And to see him on a track like that, I was just like, damn, that's huge. Like major.
Yeah, so it was a real experience. So this is the crazy part about it. We hadn't had the record mixed or mastered. Okay, this is just a rough draft for us to listen to. So we call up Duval. You know, I'm riding to it on the way home, thinking of what I want to change, what I want to do mix and mastering wise. And I said, hey man, what you thinking about it? He said, man, they loved it on iTunes. I said, what? He said, man, they are loving it on iTunes. People are calling me left and right, talking about they loving it, they playing it over and over again. This man had already loaded it up. He had artwork. We had mixed, mastered.
It wasn't even mixed.
Nope. It's still not mixed.
That's what I'm about to ask you. Has it gotten mixed since then? So this is just a rough mix. And it sounds that good.
It's a rough draft.
I have a hit record that was number 1 on Billboard for 8 weeks in a row off a rough mix.
Sheesh. That's dope. But that's how important it is when you get the right engineer behind it and get it done right.
Yeah.
I mean, a rough mix is still push.
To everybody who's watching, do not try this at home.
Yeah,
Do
don't
not
don't.
try this at home.
They have the right engineers to make that happen. Like, don't just record at home and just drop it.
Please don't take this the wrong way.
This
it
is
will
this
not
is what
work
they call.
for you.
That's what they call an anomaly. That's what it's called.
Anomaly,
Anomaly.
yes.
Facts.
Yeah, it's like lightning striking in twice in one place. It's not. I do not recommend it, even though the same thing happened with Twerkulator.
Because what's going to happen is somebody...
Wait, hold on. It happened with Twerkulator too?
Yes, Twerkulator.
So that's not even mixed yet.
No. I mean, I mixed it, but it's not
fully mixed.
Professional. Yeah, we haven't, like, it got hot because of a leak.
A leak.
It had been out for like almost a year and a half online.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie, I did get the record because I think it's been out for like like a week or two now.
You got the last.
I got it. I didn't get it last year. I got.
They're commenting. They said one man's rough mix is another man's treasure. But again, do not try this at home, because what's going to happen is people are going to start putting out bullshit and they're going to say, "Well, Mr. Hanky did."
Yeah. It's a different situation with Mr. Hanky than it is when you're just at home recording the mix. Now, I do want to now we're talking about the City Girls record. Like, it didn't get mixed or mastered fully yet. But how was that experience? Because, you know, I'm sure that's a whole nother experience compared to what you did with Smile and Living My Best Life. How was that experience being in the studio with them?
The whole thing just happened, man. Like, I had the idea, you know, to do a song, an up-tempo song. I've been having it for a minute. And my man was like, man, I know the City Girls, you know, just send me this, send me that, and we'll make it happen. Did the record, like I said, 2019 was when we first cut the record. And from that point, it was an amazing experience. I mean, just the process to get it here. Like, a lot of people don't even know, like, the clearances that we had to go through with Planet Rock. That was a whole movie. It was just crazy. So it was obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and we're here now, you know. So that was a very enjoyable situation. It just felt good when we did it, you know what I'm saying? Like, even the rough mix just felt good. And I knew once I heard it, they sent it over, I said, this is it.
Facts. I mean, it works with a lot of songs that are out right now because you got a lot of female songs coming out on that twerk vibe. Obviously, you know, the Cardi B's, the Megan Thee Stallions, the Erica Banks, and all these vibes are just fitting well with that record coming into today's market. But I know City Girls, man, they from Miami, so I know that experience hanging out with them must have been crazy as hell.
For me, though, it's all about the nostalgia and the
Facts.
production. You know,
So you had the Planet Rock record on it, but was there some
Man.
other samples on there as well too, or was that the only one?
No, it was Percolator.
Yeah.
It's time for the Percolator.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So,
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, that's what hip hop, that's what the culture was about.
Right.
If you look at the beginning, it was DJs dancing, a lot of samples, a lot of break beats. And, you know, that's where I came from. You know, I was a young kid. I shouldn't have been listening to none of it. But,
Same.
but honestly, the crazy thing about it, one of the first rap records I heard was Planet Rock and Egyptian Lover. That was literally one of the first hip hop records I ever heard.
Facts. That's dope. And like, I don't know. I'm a Miami kid, so to me, like that touches so much of me. Like I'm like, yo, I love shit like this because I could play this in the clubs. People gonna appreciate it in Miami, and then you know, being here in Louisville, playing it in the strip club the other day, I was like, damn, look at all these girls right now twerking and turning the fuck up to this shit.
Yeah, and
Right.
again, for me as a mother, it's a no. I know it sounds weird. Not that I encourage twerking. I don't actually, but it's a conversation starter because
Facts.
for me,
Twerking is great cardio for the young Americans.
is.
I like how you said it. Can you say it one more time?
Twerking is great cardio.
It's great
You know,
cardio. Ain't nothing wrong with it at all. But
But
then again, I'm a guy.
from a history perspective, like my favorite thing to do with my kids is sit down and watch like hip hop documentaries.
True.
You know, and really make them understand
Where it came from?
everything came from and how we lived and you know the music that we grew up on the 80s and the 90s because they have no fucking clue
They have
at
none.
all. You know, and it just for me that's the coolest part is to be like, okay, take Twerkulator and then take them back to those
To a whole nother time.
original
Facts.
records and listen to those together and you know it's a bonding moment as a parent.
Absolutely. I
feel
mean,
like.
for me, growing up in that time, like you said, you was a DJ, and that's around the time that I started DJing was when you know the Uncle Luke's and all. I mean, not the same time, but when I started DJing, you know that was the songs that I was playing in my high school days back in the early 2000s. You know what I mean? And then to be able to go back and then hear this, I'm
you're
like,
so
oh my god,
young.
yeah, I'm a young one. I'm a young one. Huh? Just a couple years younger. You
You're
know what
so
I mean?
fresh.
But I love what you did to the record because it brought me back to the Uncle Luke days,
Same.
the 69 Boys days,
Yes.
you know, Tootsie Roll and
Yes.
all that stuff like that. And to hear something fresh. Now, I know City Girls, they're from Miami, so they grew up with that sound as well, too, even though they're younger. But just hearing that, I'm like, oh my God.
I felt like I was
bringing
14
it back.
again.
Exactly. I felt like I was young. Look, my first party, I had girls getting naked in 9th grade. So that brought me back to those times a little bit. But, you know, obviously, you're an incredible producer and everything that you touch has been great. And like I said,
Thank
you go
so
from
much for giving us such great music.
facts. Like
phenomenal.
you have songs that to me right now is gonna, you know, take over for years and years and years because it can resonate with the young crowd and at the same time the older crowd, the older generation. But then, I mean, every song that he has, the Colonel Loud's, you know, the Throw It Off, the Twerkulator, you have such
Walk
incredible
around
records.
the club.
What? I just heard that 4th of July. Empty Beats just played it the other day. But I will say one thing.
Empty Beats always plays that song.
It's a fucking hit.
It kills.
It's a hit.
It
It's a
kills
hit.
every time in the club. You're right.
Hell yeah.
EB will drop it.
Facts. I did notice one thing that you said. Well, not that you said, but when I was researching, getting some more information from you. Before you got into music, you were playing basketball.
Right.
How was that switch? Like you went from being a basketball player. How did you change and get into the music industry?
I actually been around music like forever, man. My mom, she's a classically trained pianist and organist. So as a kid, me and my sister, we was literally crawling under pianos during choir rehearsals and stuff. So playing the piano came naturally. Me and my sister are both self-taught. We're both music majors. So is my mother. So we both majored in music at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So both played in the band. I played trumpet. That's my principal instrument. Every other instrument as well. But it was an easy transition. It takes the same amount of discipline, just to practice and get up every day to make sure you're, learning what you need to learn and research what you research. So the only difference is, we just don't run up and down the court every day, but we definitely do practice shooting in the gym all day. It's real, It takes the same amount of discipline to play sports and, do this. I look at it the same way.
Nah, absolutely. I just wanted to bring that up because I know, I read a little bit about you. You was going from balling to now making music. So I wanted people to understand that, where you came from, where you grew up, you talking about your mom being a pianist and all that, and to where you're at right now. But I don't want to take up too much of his time because I know he's working
got a
hard.
lot, as
He got a lot of
DJ
things going
Slick
on.
would say, we know you got a lot of famous shit to do, so we're not
Facts,
going to hold you.
So if you can, go ahead and let everyone know where they can follow you at. And of course, man, once again, I want to thank you for coming through tonight,
you
rocking
so
out with
much.
us.
Yeah. And shout out to the DJ Seizure and the Vice President.
Oh, thank you.
MP3wax.com. I mean, shout out to everybody. Salute the DJs. Y'all can find me at Mr Hanky B, AMRHANKY BEAT on all platforms.
Facts. Now, you did say one thing. You said the family right now, MP3 Wax. How important MP3 Wax has been a part of your, how could I say it? Career. Absolutely.
Oh, man, definitely, man. Like I said, they've always been there. The DJs, the generals, the whole staff, they've always been supportive of my records. It's amazing the support and insight that they give. Just feedback on what records are working and what records aren't working. It's priceless. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely would suggest them to any artist or producer, anybody really trying to get into the industry, to really get some good game and not get jerked around.
Definitely agreed. And we work with them so thoroughly and often. So thank you again for your time. And everybody who's watching, please do not tune off. We have another song, a close friend of mine, an artist that I work with. We're going to debut her song on here. So please stay tuned. Seizure totally left me holding the mic by myself.
No. I'm getting ready to drop. I'm getting ready to drop the record once again. Of course, appreciate Mr. Hanky for sliding through tonight. Whenever you want to come through, man, you're always welcome. I had a couple people asking
Such a pleasure.
how we can bring him through. We're gonna have to talk about that later.
He has to come
because we
got
to bring him through.
We got to come to the 502.
I got one more thing I forgot to tell y'all. I got my new single dropping soon with Erica Banks and Ricky Cohen's called Nutty Twerk. It's another twerk record.
Okay, we want all that. All of it.
Yes. I'm going to send it to you.
I need that record ASAP. I'm in the strip club, so I need that record right now. We could definitely get out that shit.
And please come visit us in the 502. I will tell you right now, I'm cooking brunch, cupcakes, everything for you. Please just come to the city and fool with us because we love you here.
Facts. Let's drop this record once again from Mr. Hanky, man. Like I said, man, I appreciate you sliding through. We out here, we rocking with you right here, man. But of course, this is the #1 music review show on Twitch, The Penthouse. Let's get to this vibe.